I was originally the eternally decisive Azure, Mist, Immortal Venerable, selflessly guarding the extraterritorial Great Wall for the human race for hundreds of years, preventing the powerful extraterritorial demon race from attacking even half an inch. Yet, they said I was monopolizing resources, preventing other cultivators from becoming stronger. They even joined together to judge me. And what's even more laughable is that the source of these accusations was my most beloved female disciple. Fine, you say I'm hoarding resources. Then I don't care anymore, huh? Why are you all crying? At this moment, in the Hall of Judgment, the 5 major city lords were jointly judging me. Lindong, although you have guarded the human race for hundreds of years, you have not allowed any cultivators to go to the extraterritorial lands, and you have deceived us by saying that there are powerful demons in the extraterritorial region, making us afraid to step out of the domain Great Wall. The Northern Profound Eye City Lord was the first to attack. The Western Sharp Gold City Lord slammed the table and continued to accuse. That's right. Over the centuries, how many talented geniuses have been blocked by you, ruining their supreme, immortal fates? What are your intentions? According to our knowledge, the Southern Blazing Fire City Lord said, his voice suppressed with anger, the extraterritorial region is not the dead zone you described at all. There are no so-called powerful demons, only unparalleled treasures everywhere, and endless ancient inheritances waiting for those with fate. You, by blocking the news, wanted to monopolize these resources. I stood in the defendant's seat, listening to their accusations, and shook my head helplessly. Hundreds of years ago, the demon race descended, and their strength was extraordinary. There were nearly 100 demon emperors, not to mention the countless high-level demons. And the human race's strongest was only a half-step immortal emperor, a vast difference in strength. If it weren't for me using my eternally decisive power to drive the demon race to the extraterritorial region and building the Great Wall to block them alone for hundreds of years, the human race would have been destroyed long ago. But now they want to judge me because of some rumors from who knows where. I sneered. Say I deceive the human race? You have to have evidence. Otherwise, you're just spouting nonsense. Just then, a clear and decisive female voice sounded from the side rear. I can prove it. Everyone's attention was instantly drawn. A slender figure walked out from the crowd, dressed in white like snow, with a cold and aloof temperament. I looked at the woman and frowned slightly, because that was precisely my direct disciple, Lu Ruyan. 10 years ago, I saw Lu Ruyan begging in the street. I saw that she was pitiful and that her aptitude was excellent, so I had pity and accepted her as my closed-door disciple. In the past 200 years, I have been meticulous to her, and I have not been stingy with cultivation resources or anything else. In just 10 short years, I cultivated her to the peak of the quasi-immortal emperor realm. But I never expected that she would be the first to stand up and identify me. She walked into the hall, seemingly afraid to meet my eyes. But she raised her head to face the judgment seat, her voice clear and firm. City Lords, I, Lu Ruyan, can testify. 3 months ago, I concealed my aura with a secret treasure and secretly crossed the domain Great Wall and entered the extraterritorial land. Her words caused an uproar. Lu Ruyan continued. I explored the extraterritorial region for 10 days, and what I saw and heard was not at all like what Master said. There were no world-destroying demons, and even powerful monsters were extremely rare. What I saw were 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs that no one had picked, strange crystal mines scattered everywhere, fragments of divine weapons that were sleeping on ancient battlefields, and several ancient ruins filled with rich Tao rhymes. Master, you did deceive everyone. Good. The Chief Justice, the Central Majestic Earth City Lord, slammed his gavel on the table, his voice shaking the entire hall. Lu Ruyan is Lindong's direct disciple. Her words are sufficient as ironclad proof. Lindong, what else do you have to say? Don't think that just because you are an immortal emperor, you can cover the sky with one hand and do whatever you want. Now that immortal Ruyan has also broken through to the immortal emperor realm, the human race is not the only emperor. I raised my eyebrows and looked at Lu Ruyan. She did have an immortal emperor-level aura. It seemed that she had found something good in the extraterritorial region. As soon as he said this, the eyes of the crowd towards Lu Ruyan were filled with awe and fanaticism. Two emperors coexisting, and the new emperor exposed the old emperor's lies, which undoubtedly gave them great courage. I looked at Lu Ruyan, my eyes filled with deep disappointment. Immortal Emperor? Did they think a mortal emperor was the peak? They didn't even know the terrifying existence lurking in the extraterritorial region. Even an immortal emperor was just a slightly stronger ant in its presence. Those treasures everywhere were mostly just bait, traps, hunting grounds for higher-level beings. In the past hundreds of years, hasn't it been me who quietly took action to repel or even kill the terrifying aura that tried to cross the Great Wall? That required power far beyond that of an immortal emperor. But I didn't want to argue anymore. You can't talk about ice to summer insects. I slowly closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, they were filled with coldness. Then, what do you want? Seeing that I seemed to have softened, the majestic Earth City Lord's eyes flashed with a hint of triumph. Simple. To compensate for your sins over the centuries, and the evil that has imprisoned the human race's development, you must personally lead a team and escort the elite of our human race to the extraterritorial region free of charge to develop territory and obtain resource treasures. And you must swear to the heavenly Tao that you will never deceive or obstruct us again and ensure our safety. In that case, we can barely give you a way out. Listening to their shameless demands, I chuckled. Should I just kill them directly now? I could do it easily with my strength, but there was no need. That would be too easy for them. I wanted them to personally experience despair, the despair from the extraterritorial demons. I shook my head and looked at no one anymore. Lead the way. Swear. Are you worthy? Before the words fell, a powerful force suddenly erupted. Lu Ruyan was shocked to see this. Lin Dong, you still dare to attack us? Then she quickly erected a barrier of defense. I think she doesn't have confidence in herself right now. After all, she just broke through, and I'm an old immortal emperor. Dazzling light erupted from my body, and the majestic immortal emperor pressure was like a substantial tsunami, slamming into the 5 city lords on the judgment seat, and Lu Ruyan, the dome of the Hall of Judgment, which was reinforced by countless arrays, made an overwhelmed groan in the face of this force, and was instantly covered with cracks. The faces of the 5 city lords changed drastically. Although they were giants in their own right, in the face of a truly angry immortal emperor, they still felt as small as dust. They desperately spurred their cultivation, and the light of various protective treasures flickered wildly, but they were still crushed, their bones creaking, almost kneeling down. Lin Dong, you are indeed stubborn and want to silence everyone. The majestic Earth City Lord was shocked and angry, his voice trembling. Master, don't, Lu Ruyan exclaimed. She didn't seem to expect that I would choose to perish together. Seeing that the destructive force was about to engulf everyone, a trace of struggle flashed in her eyes, but soon she regained her vicious expression. Master, you forced me to do this. She bit her teeth tightly, and with a clear shout, a stream of light flew out from between her eyebrows. It was a blood-red dagger. I looked at the dagger and smiled. It seems that these extraterritorial guys have spared no expense to lure these idiots. They even brought out the blood-weeping blade. The dagger flew straight towards me. I didn't dodge or evade, and was pierced through my body by the blood-weeping blade. Then, it dissipated into the heavens and earth. The terrifying pressure also vanished along with it. The Hall of Judgment was silent for a moment, then erupted in earth-shattering cheers. He's dead. He was killed by immortal Emperor Ruyan. Excellent. This human race parasite is finally dead. Ha ha. The extraterritorial treasure is ours. Thanks to immortal Emperor Ruyan, she brought us hope in the future. The crowd surged madly towards Lu Ruyan, worshipping her like a god. Feeling the support of the crowd and looking at the place where I had disappeared, The small amount of unease in Lu Rian's heart was quickly overwhelmed by an enormous sense of accomplishment and lust for power. She smiled, accepting the worship of the crowd, as if she already saw herself leading the human race to a glorious future. At this moment, I was standing in the sky, watching this group of fools digging their own graves, basking in their smugness. Of course, they couldn't see me, or how would I watch the good show? After I was executed, the lure of the extraterritorial treasure overwhelmed all subtle anxieties. A plan was quickly drawn up, and a massive expeditionary force, composed of elites from the 5 great cities and Lu Rian's close followers, rapidly assembled in a feverish atmosphere. A few days later, the largest gate in the domain wall was opened with a roar. Led by Lu Ruyin and assisted by the 5 city lords, the expeditionary force, with a pilgrimage-like feeling, stepped into their longed-for Pure Land. Upon first entering the extraterritorial land, the scene before them was indeed as Lu Ruyin had described. Spiritual energy-filled exotic flowers and grasses, rare mineral veins exposed on the surface, glittering with various colors, and the ancient ruins shrouded in a hazy halo, emanating the ancient Tao charm. Everything looked like an unguarded treasure trove. Look, that's a 10,000-year-old blood jade ginseng. Heavens, so many star crystals, enough to forge a team of flying swords. The lost temple recorded in ancient books. It really exists. Before they had gone far, exclamations came from the crowd, because they had discovered rare treasures that were extremely rare in the human race, just lying randomly by the roadside, waiting for them to take. Lu Rian looked at the scene, suppressing the excitement in her heart and maintaining a cold and dignified image. She raised her hand, her voice clearly resounding throughout the field. Silence. Although this place seems peaceful, we must not be careless. Everyone, when collecting spiritual herbs and minerals, be cautious and careful, and do not damage the roots and spiritual sources. When exploring ruins, be even more careful. Cooperate with each other. Most importantly, all gains must be registered and reported, uniformly distributed, and not hidden privately. Anyone who violates this order, don't blame this emperor for being ruthless. Her voice contained the immortal emperor's pressure, causing the fanatical crowd to calm down slightly. Everyone bowed and promised. We respectfully obey the immortal Emperor Ruyin's decree. However, the great surprise and readily available wealth soon diluted this caution. A cultivator from Ruijin City, while carefully placing a luminous 9-leaf spirit mushroom into a jade box with a special jade shovel, couldn't help but sneer. If you ask me, that old thief Lin Dong really deserved to die. No wonder he was able to cultivate to the immortal emperor realm. He must have secretly enjoyed the endless treasures and inheritance of this extraterritorial land for hundreds of years, keeping all of us in the dark, trapped in that barren inner domain. His heart is unforgivable. A female cultivator from Lihua City next to her nodded repeatedly, her face full of agreement and indignation. That's right. He became an immortal emperor relying on these resources, but fabricated some lies about heavenly demons to stop us. He is a selfish and petty person. If it weren't for him, our human race would probably have given birth to 10, 100 immortal emperors long ago. That's right, another person interjected, then looked at the white-clothed Lu Ruyin in front with a face full of worship. Thanks to immortal Emperor Ruyin, not only is she a peerless genius, but she also has the human race's great righteousness at heart, and she risked her life to expose the lies of that deceitful villain, which is why we won this new world. Yes, immortal Emperor Rian is the true hope and leader of the human race. Following immortal Emperor Ruyin, our human race will surely usher in unprecedented glory. Listening to these flattering words, the corners of Lu Ruyin's lips couldn't help but rise slightly. She reservedly nodded slightly, accepting the praise of the crowd, as if all this was what she deserved. With Lu Ruyin's tacit approval and the crowd's support, the expeditionary army's actions became bolder and bolder. They split into several groups and began to frantically sweep away all the resources they saw. 10,000-year-old spiritual medicines were dug up in patches. Rare mineral veins were quickly mined, and ancient ruins that had been silent for unknown tens of thousands of years were forcibly opened, and the elixirs, cultivation methods, and magical treasures inside were plundered. The entire extraterritorial land seemed to have become a carnival of madness. Everyone was immersed in the joy of obtaining great wealth and power, without realizing that, with their deep penetration and plunder, the surrounding environment was undergoing subtle changes. I looked at the crowd below, falling into madness, and couldn't help but sneer. Did you really think these opportunities were so easy to take? The price of fate has long been clearly marked. Just see if you have the ability to repay it. In the following days, the inner and outer domains were both busy. Every once in a while, a group of cultivators would enter the outer domain and then return full of treasures. Those who had obtained opportunities from the outer domain were all grateful to Lu Ruyan, and the entire human race faintly tended to respect Lu Ruyan. One day, Lu Ruyan was cultivating in her cave. Suddenly, a golden light soared into the sky. Lu Ruyan broke through to the middle stage of the immortal emperor again. Everyone felt this powerful energy fluctuation and looked towards the direction of Lu Ruyan's cave. Heavens, in just a few months, immortal Emperor Ruyan has broken through again. That's right. How long has it been? Immortal Emperor Ruyan's cultivation is improving by leaps and bounds. That's right. She's countless times better than that selfish Lin Dong. Lin Dong monopolized the extraterritorial treasures for so many years and only reached the immortal Emperor realm. Immortal Emperor Ruyan was able to reach this realm in just a few months. It shows how useless Lin Dong was. Lu Ruyan walked out of the cave slowly, and immediately someone went over to curry favor. Congratulations to Immortal Emperor Ruyan on the successful breakthrough. Immortal Emperor Ruyan is simply the hope of our human race's future. Listening to the flattering words, the corners of Lu Ruyan's mouth slightly raised. However, she still pretended to be modest and said, where it's just a small realm breakthrough, it's not worth mentioning. Lu Ruyan nodded reservedly. Her eyes swept over the crowd. All this is for the future of the human race. The extraterritorial resources are abundant, which is a great opportunity for our race to rise. Pass down my decree. From today onwards, all human race cultivators can freely go to the outer domain to find opportunities, as long as they hand over 30% of their gains to the Alliance. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in an uproar. The proportion of 30% was far lower than expected, almost like giving it away for free. The crowd cheered even more fanatically for Lu Ruyan's name, as if she had become the savior of the human race. I looked at this scene below, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of my mouth. Greed will eventually make them pay the price. In the following months, the extraterritorial land was almost traversed by human race cultivators. Every day, several people crossed the Great Wall, frantically looting the extraterritorial resources. Occasionally, a few cultivators mysteriously disappeared, which was also attributed to encountering misfortune when exploring ruins, and no one suspected anything strange. Lu Ruyan's prestige was at its peak. With the help of the resources obtained from the outer domain, her cultivation advanced rapidly, and she was already close to the late stage of the Immortal Emperor. Although the 5 city lords also gained something, it was vastly different from Lu Ruyan's, and they gradually became her vassals. But what I find strange is that it has been so long, and the extraterritorial demon race has not yet attacked those human race members who have gone out. It seems that they are too afraid of me. Even if I don't care about the human race at all, they don't dare to act rashly. So, I decided to speed up this good show. Heavenly Demon, come out and answer. I used my divine sense to transmit a message to the demon Venerable Hall deep in the outer domain. After a brief silence, a divine thought filled with extreme caution and respect carefully responded, afraid of disturbing anything. The heavenly demon is here. I wonder what orders immortal venerable Lin Dong has. But we have been keeping ourselves safe and have not overstepped the mark in the slightest. How have we offended immortal venerable again? The heavenly demon's voice even had a bit of flattery. I snorted coldly. Your goal has been achieved. Aren't you going to clean up this group of people who are seeking their own deaths? The heavenly devil's divine sense fluctuated, appearing even more terrified. Immortal venerable is joking. How dare we act against those protected by the immortal venerable? We were unaware they were kin of the immortal venerable and made several presumptuous probes, for which we have already been punished by the immortal venerable. Now, we wouldn't dare harbor the slightest evil intent. They are welcome to take anything they please from the outer domain. We only beg the immortal venerable to quell his anger. I frowned. Are the brains of these outer domain devils clogged with demonic energy? Protection? I have nothing to do with these fools anymore. Their life or death is none of my concern. I try to make my position clear. The heavenly devil's divine sense was silent for a moment. Then it spoke. Oh, I understand. Immortal venerable, rest assured, we will absolutely not harm those you protect. Please be at ease. Me. I felt a nameless fire surge to the top of my head. The imaginative ability of these devils is 1,000 times stronger than their strength. So, in their eyes, I'm setting a trap for them. I finally couldn't help but rebuke. Are you incapable of understanding human speech? I said, I have no relationship with them anymore. Their greed, their foolishness, this gift they presented to you, don't you want to accept it with a smile? The heavenly devil's divine sense hesitated again, filled with extreme uncertainty and fear. Immortal venerable, please quell your anger. How could we dare to presume to understand the immortal venerable's thoughts? It's just that this change is so sudden. The immortal venerable has guarded this realm for hundreds of years, and now suddenly says you're abandoning it. There must be a deeper meaning. Yes, it must be the immortal venerable testing our sincerity in surrendering. Immortal venerable, rest assured, even if there is unparalleled blood food before us, supreme nourishment, without the immortal venerable's explicit decree, we would not dare to touch a single morsel. Please let the immortal venerable be clear. I was utterly speechless. Hundreds of years of absolute suppression had generated such deep fear and path dependence in these ferocious and brutal heavenly devils that even when I delivered food to their mouths, they didn't dare to bite, instead suspecting it was a trap. It seems they won't believe it unless I make a proper show of it. Obstinate. I completely lost patience. Boom! An indescribably terrifying pressure suddenly descended upon the demon realm. This emperor has no time to play guessing games with you. My voice was like thunder from the 9 heavens, carrying glorious heavenly might and a hint of killing intent. This is the last time I'll say it. These people with me, Lin Dong, are severed in ties of gratitude and obligation. Their greed deserves to become your food. Their souls deserve to become fuel for your demonic fire. I want them to personally experience just what kind of despair is hidden within the outer domain they consider a treasure. Immediately, at once, make them pay the price they deserve. Otherwise, my pressure increased again, and cracks began to appear in the pillars of the Demon Lord's hall. Feeling my pure and unadulterated anger and killing intent, the heavenly devil finally became convinced. Fear remained, but even more so was Kangshit mad joy and a bloodthirsty impulse. Yes, we respectfully obey the immortal venerable's decree. Understood. We truly understand this time. The heavenly devil's divine sense hurriedly replied, filled with excitement and impatience. We will arrange it immediately. We will surely let this group of ignorant ants deeply experience the terror of the outer domain. We will definitely put on a good show for the immortal venerable. I retracted my pressure, coldly overlooking the treasury that was about to turn into a sea of blood and a living hell. The feast was finally about to begin. At this moment, Lu Ruyan once again arrived in the outer domain with her dozen or so trusted subordinates. And almost all of them were at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm. It had to be said that Lu Ruyan did have some skill. She had managed to subdue all the quasi-emperor powerhouses in the outer domain in such a short time. Everyone, today we are going deeper into the demon realm. It is said that there are even more powerful treasures inside. In the outer domain, Lu Ruyan began to issue orders. I didn't expect her to start heading deeper so quickly. It seems that these things near the Great Wall can no longer satisfy their appetites. What a bunch of greedy fools. But it is the demon realm's main camp, and the dangers are numerous. After everyone enters, you must listen to my commands, understand? Lu Ruyan's words carried an unquestionable majesty, yet cleverly ignited an even greater greed in the depths of everyone's hearts. Deeper into the demon realm. That meant treasures 1,000 times more valuable than these scrap materials on the periphery. Perhaps there were ultimate opportunities there that could allow one to become an emperor on the spot, or even surpass the immortal emperor. We respectfully obey the immortal emperor's decree. The dozen or so quasi-emperor powerhouses, their eyes gleaming with fanaticism, responded in unison. Lu Ruyan had broken through to the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm, her strength far exceeding their expectations. With her leading the way, plus their group of quasi-emperor peaks, they could cope with any danger, even if it truly arose. As for the heavenly devils Lin Dong had mentioned, nothing but nonsense, a scare tactic. Lu Ruyan nodded in satisfaction, her white robes fluttering as she took the lead, transforming into a stream of light that flew toward that darker, more shadowy region of the outer domain deeper in, where demonic energy faintly swirled. The other quasi-emperors followed closely behind, their momentum like a rainbow. The deeper they went, the surrounding scenery began to subtly change. Although they could still see scattered spiritual herbs and crystal mines, a faint, unsettling sense of oppression began to permeate the air. The light became dim, and the originally thin demonic energy gradually thickened, even beginning to erode their protective spiritual light, emitting a faint, sizzling sound. Everyone, be careful. Circulate your techniques to resist the demonic energy. A more cautious quasi-emperor reminded. Lu Ruyan, however, didn't care. She felt the surging power within her body, almost breaking through to the late stage of the immortal emperor realm, and was full of confidence. What's so important about mere dispersing demonic energy? It's just right for tempering our Tao hearts. Speed up. I can feel that there are huge energy fluctuations ahead. There must be great treasures. Hearing the words, great treasures, everyone's hearts warmed, and that little bit of unease was immediately thrown to the back of their minds as they sped up to catch up. After going deeper for a distance, the surrounding demonic energy clearly became denser and began to actively erode their protective spiritual light. Some of the quasi-emperors with slightly weaker wills already felt restless. Be on guard, Lu Ruyan shouted clearly, and the mid-stage immortal emperor's pressure spread out, temporarily stabilizing the team. Just then, the demonic mist rolled ahead, and a team of patrolling demons appeared. Leading them was a demonic general clad in black armor and wielding a giant axe, whose aura surged, actually being in the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm as well. Behind him followed dozens of demonic soldiers of various shapes and sizes, all exuding baleful energy, roughly ranging from the early to peak quasi-emperor realm. When the demonic general saw Lu Ruyan and her group, he was clearly stunned. A hint of surprise and confusion flashed in his scarlet pupils. His lord had only ordered him to lead a small team to patrol, investigate the movements of these humans, and repeatedly instructed him not to provoke them actively, only to observe from a distance. He never expected that this group of humans would go so deep and directly bump into him. As he hesitated whether to stand still or immediately retreat to report in accordance with the strictest precepts, Lu Ruyan's pupils shrank, as if facing a great enemy. She could clearly feel the powerful demonic energy emanating from the opposing leader, no weaker than her own. "Demon Sovereign?" Lu Ruyan exclaimed, her heart leaping violently. The image of the terrifying demon emperor, described by Master Lindong back, then instantly floated to the front of her mind. She never expected to encounter such an existence so soon. Watching the scene before me, I couldn't help but laugh. Recognizing a demonic general as a demon sovereign, that's Lu Ruyan for you. Hearing this, the demonic general was even more completely dumbfounded and almost didn't hold his giant axe steady. Demon Sovereign? Me? He pointed to his face covered in scales, his mind unable to process it for a moment. His lord had dozens of demon sovereigns under his command, each one a behemoth who shook the world. He, a mere demonic general, wasn't even worthy of carrying the demon sovereign's shoes. Was this woman scared out of her mind? Before he could explain or say something polite, Lu Ruyan had already made a decision. Strike first. "Everyone, follow me to slay this fiend. We must not let him harm the world." Lu Ruyan shouted, "Jiao Chu Jiao 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 True Jiao, 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 True Jiao. True Jiao, 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 True. After a moment of silence, earth-shattering cheers erupted from the human side. We won. We won. Immortal Emperor Ruyan is mighty. She actually injured the Demon Lord. Ha. What bullshit, Demon Lord. He's nothing in front of immortal Emperor Ruyan. Lin Dong, that old thief, was just being alarmist. The Demon Lord was wounded and fled by our human immortal emperor. The quasi-emperors were extremely excited, surrounding Lu Ruyan, looking at the demonic blood splattered on the ground, their faces full of fanaticism and worship. Lu Ruyan gasped slightly, her face a little pale, her chest heaving. That attack had consumed a huge amount of her energy, and she had even been injured by the backlash from the Demon General, affecting some of her meridians. But listening to the praises of the crowd, looking at the fleeing Demon Lord, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. It seemed he was still benefiting from it. However, just as they were about to move again, a cold, indifferent voice, yet carrying supreme majesty, as if coming from the deepest depths of the nine hells, slowly echoed throughout the extraterritorial space, clearly entering the depths of everyone's souls. Oh, injuring a patrol captain, and you've already become so unrestrained. It seems, Lin Dong, he really no longer cares about your life or death. When Lu Ruyan and the others heard this voice, they immediately became vigilant. Ooh, Lu Ruyan looked around. Don't play tricks, come out if you have the ability. But the voice ignored Lu Ruyan and continued to speak to itself. Since he no longer protects you, then this boring charade should come to an end. Ants, welcome to the true extraterritorial world. Enjoy the eternal nightmare you exchanged with your greed. The next moment, a shrill scream came from behind Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan turned her head abruptly, her pupils shrinking sharply. A quasi-emperor powerhouse behind her was melting at a speed visible to the naked eye, like a wax statue in the scorching sun. His skin, muscles, and bones were dissolving, turning into a pool of thick, fishy-smelling black water. Even his primordial spirit couldn't escape, emitting a final, short wail in that black water before completely dissipating. And the culprit of all this was just a wisp of faint demonic energy that seemed to seep out of the void. Like a tentacle with a life of its own, it slowly retracted into the void after completing the slaughter and disappeared. Fast, extremely fast, ruthless to the point of obliterating everything. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but shake my head. They only sent out a corpse, rot demon. It seems they're still somewhat wary. That's right. I've been selflessly protecting the human race for hundreds of years. Suddenly stopping completely, they can't completely believe it for a while. But it doesn't matter, they will believe it eventually. The quasi-emperors below were plunged into dead silence, watching as a companion died, just like that. A suffocating silence enveloped them, leaving only the faint hissing sound of the steaming black water. Lu Ruyan was completely enraged at this point. She mobilized all the spiritual power in her body, and the pressure of a mid-stage immortal emperor exploded in full force. Show yourself to this immortal emperor. In Lu Rian's roar, the corpse-rot demon finally revealed its form. Playing tricks. A mere corpse. How dare you be so presumptuous? Although Lu Ruyan was shocked, she didn't panic. The confidence from defeating the demon lord earlier hadn't completely dissipated. She shouted Jiker, Jiao Qi, and the weeping bloodblade appeared again, transforming into a more fierce blood-colored rainbow than before, directly slashing at the corpse-rot demon. This sword contained a majestic mid-stage, immortal emperor mana, enough to split mountains and break seas. However, faced with this earth-shattering blow, the corpse-rot demon simply slowly raised its arm, which was constantly dripping with decay fluid. The bloodlight struck the corpse-rot demon's arm, but the expected severing didn't occur. The weeping bloodblade, which was enough to injure a mid-stage, immortal emperor demon general, was like cutting into the deepest quagmire. The bloodlight was quickly polluted and swallowed by the viscous black decay fluid, and the light dimmed. Not only that, the decay fluid rapidly spread along the bloodlight, counterattacking Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan's face changed drastically. She could feel her immortal power and primordial spirit being polluted and dissolved by the foul-smelling aura of death. She hurriedly cut off part of the connection with the weeping bloodblade and retreated backwards in a panic. How is this possible? She exclaimed in shock, disbelief flashing in her beautiful eyes for the first time. This seemingly inconspicuous corpse-rot demon's power level completely crushed her. It wasn't mid-stage Immortal Emperor at all. It might even surpass late-stage Immortal Emperor. Protect the Immortal Emperor. Seeing this, the other quasi-emperors, although their hearts were filled with fear, had no way to retreat at this moment. They roared and unleashed their strongest divine powers and magical treasures, bombarding the corpse-rot demon. For a moment, various colors of light flashed, and powerful energy fluctuations swept in all directions. The corpse-rot demon only let out a strange glug-glug laugh, like bubbles bursting, as it faced the dense attacks. It didn't dodge or avoid, allowing the attacks to land on its body. Rumble. Explosions were endless, and the demonic mist was violently stirred. However, when the light dissipated, the hearts of all the quasi-emperors sank into an ice cellar. The corpse-rot demon was still standing in place, without even a scratch on its body. Those attacks that were enough to kill quasi-emperors of the same rank were like mud cows entering the sea when they hit it, only causing the decay fluid on its surface to fluctuate slightly. On the contrary, some magical treasures that were contaminated with the decay fluid sprayed out by it instantly lost their spirituality and fell as scrap metal. Ugh! Another scream sounded. This time, everyone saw it clearly. The corpse-rot demon's figure disappeared like a ghost, and then instantly appeared behind a quasi-emperor from Leaf Fire City. Its rotten arm easily penetrated the opponent's layers of protective light and defensive magical treasures, directly inserting into his back heart. The quasi-emperor's body withered, blackened, and rotted at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a black skeleton, and then even the skeleton turned into ashes, leaving only a wisp of remnant soul wailing as it was sucked into the corpse-rot demon's nose, those two empty holes. Instant kill. Another instant kill. Absolute crush. A despairing difference in strength. No. No. A female quasi-emperor from Xian Ice City collapsed mentally and turned into a stream of light, wanting to escape. But she had only flown out less than 100 feet when her body suddenly stiffened. Then, countless black decay fluid frantically poured out from her eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and even pores, instantly engulfing her and following in the footsteps of her companion. The corpse-rot demon didn't even move, it just looked at her. Fear, like the deadliest plague, instantly swept through everyone. Until this moment, they truly understood what the heavenly demons that Lin Dong had warned them about were. They understood why those treasures were untouched. They understood how ridiculous and fragile their so-called immortal emperor and quasi-emperor cultivations were in front of the terrifying existences in the depths of this extraterritorial world. Form a formation. Quickly form a defensive formation. The Earth Soil City Lord roared hoarsely, his voice distorted by fear. The survivors hurriedly gathered together, doing their best to set up layers of defensive light screens. Lu Rian's face was as pale as paper, holding the slightly trembling, weeping bloodblade, without the composure and pride she had before. Puff! Ah! Screams rang out one after another. Any quasi-emperor who came into contact with those gray ripples, regardless of their cultivation level or the strength of their protective magical treasures, began to rot and dissolve instantly, their primordial spirits extinguishing like candles in the wind. With just one attack, the number of survivors was reduced by half. Even the Sharp Metal City Lord and Xian'ai City Lord, two of the 5 major city lords, had suffered heavy injuries because they were defending in the front, and their magical treasures had shattered, and their aura was rapidly declining. Despair, utter despair. Lu Rian barely withstood the attack with a weeping bloodblade and her mid-stage immortal emperor cultivation, but blood was already spilling from the corners of her mouth, and her internal organs were injured. Looking at her companions falling down around her, looking at the invincible and terrifying demonic creature, her long-held beliefs completely collapsed. Why? Why is this happening? She muttered to herself, lost. Why? That cold and majestic voice sounded again, with a hint of mockery. Wasn't it you who craved this pure land? Wasn't it you who used greed and betrayal to tear apart the only talisman of protection with your own hands? Lin Dong protected you for hundreds of years, blocking all the horrors you couldn't imagine. But you denounced the Guardian as a sinner, and happily swallowed the bait thrown by the enemy. Truly, laughably stupid. Lu Rian suddenly raised her head, her beautiful eyes filled with bloodshot and a kind of madness unwilling to accept reality. She screamed, no, impossible. You are so powerful. If you were a heavenly demon, how could Lin Dong, that good-for-nothing, have suppressed you for hundreds of years? You must have used some sinister scheme. Or you just broke through. Yes, that must be it. Lu Rian was still trying to justify herself, as if only in this way could she comfort herself. Ha ha! The corpse demon suddenly laughed, as if he had heard a good joke. Insignificant insect. You know nothing of true power. Its rotting arm slowly rose, pointing towards the domain Great Wall, its voice becoming low and full of awe, even with a hint of fear. Immortal Reverend Lin Dong. His might. How could you frogs at the bottom of a well possibly fathom? He sits alone at the domain Great Wall. His pressure covers the entire extraterritorial demonic land. 400 years, we 10 great demon lords, nearly 100 demon emperors, countless demonic armies. None dared to cross the line. If he hadn't willingly left, you wouldn't even have the right to glance at these treasures. It was he, with his own strength. He supported hundreds of years of peace for you. And you. The corpse demon's voice suddenly became sharp and bitter. And you bunch of fools used the most despicable betrayal to personally destroy your only and most solid barrier. Truly, pathetic and laughable. Lu Rian was struck by lightning, her body trembling violently. The corpse demon seemed very satisfied with her reaction at this moment, and slowly approached. Also, who told you? I am a heavenly demon. Lu Rian suddenly raised her head, her pupils shrinking to the size of needles, only to hear the corpse demon say in a playful voice, this venerable is merely the weakest ranked of the 10 great demon lords under the heavenly demon. Corpse demon lord. After hearing this, Lu Rian completely collapsed to the ground, seemingly frightened silly, muttering to herself incessantly, impossible, impossible, Lin Dong. That good-for-nothing can't be this strong. He's just in the early stage of a mortal emperor. All right, the boring explanation is over. Corpse demon lord slowly raised that arm, constantly dripping with corrosive fluid, enough to easily annihilate immortal emperors. Aunt, do you have any last words? The aura of death rushed towards her. Lu Rian looked at the approaching rotting arm. Her instinct for survival and a last glimmer of hope completely erupted. She suddenly raised her head, looked towards the void, and with all her strength, let out a shrill, tearful scream. Master! Master Lin Dong! I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. You are so powerful. You must not be dead. How could you be killed by that kind of attack? Master, please, save me. Save us. Rian knows she was wrong. I am willing to be your ox and horse, to serve you, for all eternity. Please give us another chance. Master. Her voice was miserable and despairing, echoing in the deathly silent extraterritorial land. The corpse demon also stopped what he was doing when he heard her calling my name, and then looked around with a worried expression. Seeing this, Lu Ruyan actually began to threaten the corpse demon. Corpse demon, you better let me go, or my master will definitely make you look good when he comes. I am his only direct disciple. The corpse demon seemed really threatened. I couldn't help but facepalm at this scene. Can't these people understand what I'm saying, or do they have a bad memory? I already said I don't care. Why are they still like this? It seems I have to take action myself. I gradually revealed myself, and with a thought, I arrived near Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan was naturally surprised and delighted to see me. She knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face. Master, I knew you weren't dead. Come and save your disciple. Disciple knows she was wrong. I did not look at her, but looked at the corpse demon with a blank expression. The corpse demon was a little scared by my stare and quickly bowed to me. Corpse demon under the heavenly demon greets immortal venerable Qinglan. I raised my eyebrows and said indifferently, Don't mind me. Continue to do what you want to do. The corpse demon was a little uncertain. I shook my head and waved my hand towards Lu Rian's direction without looking back. I gradually revealed myself, and with a thought, I arrived near Lu Ruyan. Lu Rian's eyes erupted with joy after surviving a disaster. She knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face, crying incoherently. Master, I knew you weren't dead. How could you be killed by that kind of attack? Master, please, save your disciple. Your disciple knows she was wrong. I really know I was wrong. They all forced me. They all deceived me. Please, for the sake of our 10 years as master and disciple, save me one more time. I didn't look at her, my gaze falling indifferently on Corpse Demon Lord. Corpse Demon Lord trembled slightly under my gaze. That rotting face actually squeezed out a hint of obsequious reverence. It hastily bowed, its voice trembling. Corpse Demon under the heavenly demon pays respects to immortal venerable Qinglan. Not knowing immortal venerable was here, disturbing immortal venerable, please forgive. I interrupted it, my voice calm and unwavering, but with an undeniable authority. Don't mind me. Continue doing what you want to do. This Corpse Demon Lord froze in place, its scarlet pupils filled with immense confusion and fear. It looked at me, then at Lu Ruyan kneeling and begging. The demon claw hung in midair, in a dilemma. It really didn't dare guess the immortal venerable's thoughts, let alone act rashly. Seeing this, Lu Ruyan seemed to have grabbed the last straw and actually threatened Corpse Demon Lord in a shrill voice, her voice distorted by fear and urgency. Corpse Demon, did you hear that? My master is here. If you dare touch me even a bit, master will surely destroy you, body and soul, forever without reincarnation. Get out. Get out of here. She seemed to have misunderstood something from my indifferent attitude, thinking that I would eventually soften. I gently shook my head, the last trace of faint ripples in my eyes subsiding into silence. Without saying more, I waved my hand casually towards Lu Rian's direction without turning back. The action was light and casual, as if just brushing away a speck of dust beside me. However, an invisible but extremely sharp force instantly swept across. Ah! Lu Rian's shrill scream. Unlike any human sound, suddenly exploded, drowning out the hissing of all the demonic energy. Her remaining intact arm was severed at the shoulder, warm blood spurting and spinning, falling into the turbid demonic soil. The severed end was smooth as a mirror, and then the intense pain consumed her. She curled up on the ground, her face instantly as pale as gold paper, her whole body convulsing violently. Large beads of sweat and tears mixed and flowed down, issuing a painful wail. I still didn't look at her, my gaze falling on the completely dazed, even shivering corpse demon lord. My tone was as indifferent as ever. Now, do you believe it? Corpse demon lord's huge body shook violently. It looked at the severed arm on the ground that was still twitching slightly, and then at my cold, emotionless face. Its simple demon brain finally understood completely. Immortal Venerable was serious. These people, including this so-called direct disciple, Immortal Venerable really didn't want any more. All hesitation and fear instantly turned into completely unleashed, bloodthirsty joy. Believe. Thank you, Immortal Venerable. Thank you, Immortal Venerable, for making it happen. Corpse Demon Lord's voice was hoarse with excitement. It no longer hesitated. The demon claw that had been hanging, dripping with corrosive fluid, suddenly reached out and grabbed Lu Ruyan, who was almost fainting from the severe pain and extreme fear. No, Master. Lu Ruyan struggled desperately, her eyes staring fixedly at me, filled with pleading and disbelief. Master, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please, for the sake of my serving you for 10 years, for the sake of my calling you master for 10 years, spare my life. I dare not anymore. I really dare not anymore. I can do anything for you. Anything. Master. Her cries were miserable and tragic, enough to move the hearts of even the most stone-hearted people. However, I just watched expressionlessly, watching Corpse Demon Lord's demon claw tighten, watching the dense death demonic energy begin to corrode and rot her immortal emperor body. In her wails, my voice rang out calmly, clearly entering her final consciousness. You don't know you were wrong, Lu Ruyan. You just know you're going to die. No. Lu Ruyan roared. Dark demon flames rose, instantly engulfing that graceful figure. She, who had once been incomparably beautiful and hailed as the new hope of the human race, along with her immortal emperor cultivation, her ambitions, and her betrayal, at this moment, completely turned into a wisp of foul-smelling black smoke, dissipating in the eternal demonic wind of the extraterritorial lands. Her soul scattered, never to be reincarnated. I watched indifferently as the wisp of black smoke dissipated, my eyes without the slightest ripple. Corpse Demon Lord greedily sucked in the escaping immortal emperor-level life essence and soul power in the air, emitting a satisfied low roar. Its pair of scarlet demon eyes suddenly raised, passing over the place where Lu Ruyan had dissipated and looking towards the towering, but now open-doored, domain Great Wall. Its gaze became extremely fervent and greedy. No longer was there any hesitation, no longer was there the sword of Damocles hanging overhead to restrain it. Roar! Corpse Demon Lord raised its head and let out a roar that shook the entire extraterritorial land. This roar was not a simple shout, but a war cry containing special demonic thoughts. In an instant, the entire extraterritorial demonic land seemed to awaken from its slumber. Rumble, the earth began to tremble violently, more fiercely than ever before. Demonic energy, like boiling water, surged from all directions, blotting out the sky and sun. Countless scarlet, bloodthirsty, and savage eyes lit up in the thick demonic mist, densely packed and stretching to the horizon. Low roars, sharp screeches, the cracking of bones grinding. Countless terrifying demonic sounds converged into a flood of destruction. Immortal Venerable's decree. Feast. Begin. The Corpse Demon Venerable's voice was like thunder, exploding in the consciousness of all the demons. Kill, tear them apart, devour everything. For the demon lord, for blood. Hundreds of years of accumulated hunger, repression, and savagery erupted at this moment. The demon tide, the real, boundless demon tide moved, like a black tide of death, with the corpse demon venerable as its vanguard, carrying countless demon soldiers and generals, and even deeper, several terrifying demon venerable auras, no weaker than the corpse demon venerable, erupted, joining the fray, surging towards the breached domain Great Wall, towards the human territory that had lost its only guardian, yet remained immersed in a greedy dream. At the gate of the domain Great Wall, the remaining cultivators and the team that had just returned from beyond the domain laden with riches, preparing to enter the city, were still immersed in the joy of their harvest and the worship of immortal Emperor Luruyan. What was that loud noise and tremor just now? There seemed to be a strong energy fluctuation in the depths of the domain beyond. Probably immortal Emperor Ruyan is using great divine powers again to acquire treasures, right? Haha, definitely. With the immortal Emperor here, what could possibly happen? Our harvest this time. The smiles froze on everyone's faces before they could finish speaking. In their pupils were reflected the endless darkness that devoured light, sweeping in from the distant horizon. The darkness moved with unimaginable speed. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a sky-covering, earth-shattering horde of demonic figures. Terrifying, evil, cold, and bloodthirsty demonic energy, like a tangible shockwave, slammed heavily into the Great Wall's ancient walls. Buzz! The defense array inscribed on the Great Wall itself activated automatically, emitting a distressed wail under the immense pressure, its light flickering violently, instantly covered in cracks. An enemy attack. The shrill, distorted alarm finally pierced the silence. But it was too late. The black demon tide crashed like a tsunami onto the Great Wall's light screen. It lasted less than 3 breaths. Crack, rumble. The domain Great Wall, known as a shield protecting humanity for hundreds of years, the largest gate section and the surrounding walls, under the frenzied impact of countless demons and the combined attack of several great demon venerables, shattered like paper, turning into countless rubble and dust. Ega! The defending cultivators and the returning team bore the brunt of the attack. They didn't even have time to put up an effective resistance before being swallowed by the Black Flood. Instantly, flesh and blood flew everywhere, their souls torn apart and absorbed. Even their screams were drowned out by the demons' roars. The demon tide rushed into human territory without obstruction. In the inland of the human race, major cities, people were still immersed in the frenzied atmosphere of Lin Dong subjugated. Immortal Emperor Rian leads the rise of humanity, and treasures beyond the domain are ours for the taking. The streets were bustling, everyone discussing who had obtained what rare treasure from the domain beyond, and whose cultivation had greatly increased. Suddenly, the sky dimmed at a visible rate, stained with a bizarre dark green and crimson red. An icy, bone-chilling wind, carrying a rich, bloody scent, howled through the city. What's going on? Why is it getting dark? It's so cold. This wind, it makes me feel so uncomfortable. Look at the sky. What? What is that? People looked up in horror, only to see the dark, oppressive demonic clouds surging like boiling waves from the distant horizon. Beneath the demonic clouds were the terrifying figures of countless flying demons. Demons, the demon race. The demon race is invading the Great Wall. The domain Great Wall has been breached. Run! Panic spread like a plague. The prosperous streets instantly descended into chaos, filled with cries, screams, and the sound of trampling. The city lords' mansions and sects in various places urgently raised their defense arrays, and alarm bells rang loudly. Cultivators flew into the sky in panic, trying to organize a resistance. But when they saw the boundless demon tide and felt the terrifying demon venerable auras within it, far exceeding even immortal emperors. All their courage was instantly crushed to dust. How is this possible? So many, so strong. Immortal Emperor. Where is Immortal Emperor Ruyan? Send for help. Ask for help from Central Ho-Tu City. Ask Immortal Emperor Ruyan for help. Central Ho-Tu City, Alliance Headquarters. The 5 city lords and leaders of the major sects gathered to discuss how to further develop the resources beyond the domain and how to distribute the profits. The Ho-Tu city lord's face was beaming with satisfaction. Everyone, now that the obstacles have been removed, the future belongs to us. As long as... Boom! A huge explosion came from outside the city, shaking the entire hall violently. Report. A general covered in blood, his armor shattered, stumbled into the hall, his face filled with extreme fear, his voice hoarse and broken. The demon race has invaded. The domain Great Wall has been breached. They're coming in. We can't stop them. We simply can't stop them. What? The hall fell silent. The smiles on the faces of all the big shots froze, replaced by unbelievable paleness. Nonsense. Immortal Emperor Ruyan just led people deep into the domain beyond. How could there be demons? The Ho-Tu city lord forced himself to remain calm and reprimanded. Before he could finish speaking, another panicked figure rushed in. City lord, something bad has happened. Urgent messages from northern Xianbing City and western Ruijin City. They've been attacked by the main force of the demons. The city defenses were broken instantly. The two city lords have already fallen. Southern Lihua City is also surrounded by the demon tide. It's in grave danger. Eastern Qingmu City has lost contact. One piece of bad news after another hit everyone's hearts like a heavy hammer. The Ho-Tu city lord staggered back and fell into his chair, his face bloodless, his lips trembling. How could this happen? Where is Immortal Emperor Ruyan? Quick, contact her. We can't contact her. Immortal Emperor Ruyan and all the quasi-emperors under her command. Their soul lamps. All have been extinguished. The elder in charge of guarding the Soul Hall ran over, his voice filled with despair. All extinguished? Immortal Emperor Midstage, more than a dozen Quasi-Emperor Peak Stage, all extinguished? The hall fell into a deathly silence, with only the roars of demons and the sounds of explosions outside the city growing closer. Despair instantly overwhelmed everyone. While the demons were massacring the human race, I stood in the air above them. All the demons flying in the air went around me, so I was soon discovered. Look, in the sky. It's Immortal Emperor Lin Dong. A cultivator covered in blood and missing an arm pointed to the sky, letting out a shout filled with extreme surprise and disbelief. This shout was like grabbing the last piece of driftwood at the edge of drowning, instantly igniting the hope of countless desperate people. It really is Immortal Emperor Lin Dong. The Immortal Emperor is not dead. The Immortal Emperor is back. Immortal Emperor, save us. Save us. Please, Immortal Emperor, kill the demons. Immortal Emperor, the human race cannot be destroyed. Cries and pleas surged like a tide from the ruined cities. Countless gazes filled with longing and supplication focused on me. I indifferently looked down at them, watching the demons tear apart their bodies and devour their souls, watching the familiar cities burn and collapse in the demonic flames, unmoved. I didn't make a move, not even a trace of emotion. My silence and inaction gradually extinguished the initial ecstasy. Hope began to turn into confusion, then uneasiness, and finally, transformed into anger. They couldn't understand why the Immortal Emperor, who had once guarded everything in their hearts, was now just watching coldly. Finally, someone couldn't hold back and shouted out a sharp accusation. It was a sect elder who was desperately resisting the attack of a demon general while yelling up at me, his voice twisted by fear and anger. Lin Dong, why aren't you acting? Are you just going to watch the human race be slaughtered? You are unworthy of being a human Immortal Emperor. After that, More survivors joined the chorus of accusations, as if pouring all their fear of failure and death onto me would make them feel better. Yes, Lin Dong, you have received the offerings and love of the human race for so many years. You are revered by billions. Now that the human race is suffering such a disaster, you're just standing by. Where's your conscience? Wasn't it just unjustly accusing you for a moment? It was wrong of us to judge you, but who knew the domain beyond would be so dangerous? Since you have such strength, why didn't you just explain it clearly? That's right. You could have explained it clearly, but you chose to leave. You deliberately wanted to watch us die. Why is your heart so narrow? A little misunderstanding, a little insignificant grievance, and you're going to take the survival of the entire human race as revenge. Are you even human? As a strong person, it is your duty to protect the weak. You are strong, so you should bear these misunderstandings and grievances. Now you are being petty and refuse to help. You are more evil than the demons. Curses, accusations, and morally blackmailing cries, mixed with the roars of demons and the explosions of the cities, were particularly grating and ridiculous. They seemed to have completely forgotten who had driven away the demons for hundreds of years, who had been jointly judged and branded as a sinner, and who had personally pushed away the only guardian and happily jumped into the trap. Now, all they remembered was that I hadn't saved them, and attributed all the blame to my grudge and indifference. Listening to the ridiculous remarks from below, I finally spoke slowly. My voice was not loud, but it clearly suppressed all the noise and entered the ears of every survivor like an eternal ice. Love, offerings, those hundreds of years of guarding were repaid with your joint accusations in the Hall of Judgment. Explain? What I need to explain to you? Your reverence to me is worthless. Your survival, what does it have to do with me? The path was chosen by yourselves. The price, naturally, must be paid by yourselves. My words, without the slightest emotion, were more despairing than any roar. Those who were accusing me were instantly speechless, their faces as white as paper. Yes, what right do they have to accuse? What qualifications do they have to demand? Yet there are still people shamelessly accusing me. Even so, setting aside the facts, are you without fault? You're so powerful. Why didn't you force us to stay put? Hearing this shameless statement, I glanced casually and saw a woman on the ground instantly struck by heavenly lightning, her soul completely scattered. I looked down and found it boring. I continued towards Ho-Tu City in the center of the domain. Central Ho-Tu City, as the last fortress of the human race, was indeed struggling to hold on, relying on the reinforced formation foundations built over generations and the accumulation of spiritual veins from all directions. The enormous earth-yellow light barrier trembled violently under the impact of the endless demonic tide, flickering erratically, each flash seeming like it would shatter completely the next moment. Inside the city, the remaining cultivators and civilians huddled together, their faces filled with despair, placing their last hope on the precarious protection. Inside the city lord's mansion, the Ho-Tu City Lord no longer possessed the dignity of a city ruler. His ornate robes were torn, his hair disheveled, his face mixed with blood, sweat, and unconcealed fear. He paced back and forth in the command hall like a trapped beast, urging the formation masters to pour in spiritual power with a hoarse voice, his eyes constantly drifting towards the devastating demonic tide outside the city, each burst of terrifying aura from a demon lord making him tremble. Just as he was about to be swallowed by despair, the corner of his eye suddenly caught sight of something. Right in the center of the hall, no more than a few feet away from him, a figure in a blue robe had quietly appeared, hands clasped behind his back, calmly observing the chaotic scene in the hall. It was me back again. Lin, Immortal Emperor Lin Dong. The Ho-Tu City Lord was stunned for a moment, then burst into unbelievable ecstasy, his eyes like a dying man seeing his only savior. He almost crawled over, not caring about the shocked gazes of his subordinates, and knelt down in front of me with a thud, weeping and kowtowing profusely. Immortal Emperor. Immortal Emperor, you're back. You're finally back. I knew you wouldn't abandon the human race. You wouldn't abandon us. He cried out, his voice extremely miserable, trying to grab the corner of my robe, but was blocked by an invisible force. Immortal Emperor, we were wrong. We all know we were wrong. It's all that bitch Lu Ruyen. She bewitched us. He suddenly looked up, his face full of urgency, his voice shrill. It was her. It was she who came back from beyond the realm, vowing that you had deceived everyone. It was she who brought out so-called evidence. We were all blinded by her. Immortal Emperor, please understand. We were all deceived by her. That's why we did such foolish things. We are also victims. As he spoke, he kowtowed vigorously, his forehead instantly turning blue and purple. Immortal Emperor, please, for the sake of the billions of lives of the human race, for the sake of us having done our part, even if we didn't contribute, please help us repel the demons. As long as you are willing to help from now on, you will be the sole supreme of the human race. We are willing to serve you as our master forever and ever. All resources, all power is yours. Please, save us. His words were fast and urgent, filled with flattery, pleading, and a frantic attempt to shift the blame onto Lu Ruyen, as if pushing all the blame onto a dead person could wash away his own greed and betrayal. I watched his performance indifferently, watching him sell everything without any bottom line in order to survive, even including the immortal Emperor Ruyen, whom he had once revered as a god. Until he was hoarse from speaking, I slowly opened my mouth, my voice calm without a trace of fluctuation, but like a cold knife, piercing all his illusions. Deceive. Lu Ruyen said there were treasures beyond the realm, and you believed it without a doubt, because it suited your greed. She accused me, and you joined together to judge me, because it satisfied your ambition to overthrow the old authority. Now that you've tasted the bitter fruit, you're pushing everything onto a dead person. My gaze swept across his pale face, swept across the complex gazes of his surrounding cultivators, who were also filled with fear. Ho-Tu, you didn't say it like this when you presided over the trial. The path was chosen by oneself. The price must naturally be paid by oneself. My words completely crushed his last hope. The Ho-Tu city lord's face instantly lost all color. He slumped to the ground, his eyes empty, muttering, "No, it can't be like this. You can't stand by and watch us die." Just then, boom! A terrifying roar far louder than before came. The entire hall shook violently, and the dome began to collapse. Outside the city, the massive, rotting figure of the corpse demon lord appeared, letting out a ferocious laugh, its huge, festering claws tearing savagely at the last protective light barrier of Ho-Tu City from the outside. Crack! Boom! The defense, known as the most solid of the human race, finally shattered completely under the demon lord's full blow, turning into countless light spots and dissipating. It's over. It's all over. The Ho-Tu city lord stared blankly at the demon shadows covering the sky outside the shattered dome, completely despairing. Endless demons surged into the city from all directions like a flood from a burst dam, and the screams instantly reached their peak. The heavenly demon's gaze pierced through the ruins and instantly locked onto the Ho-Tu city lord in the hall, as well as me beside him. A trace of instinctive awe towards me flashed in its huge pupils, but seeing my still indifferent and watching attitude, its greed immediately overwhelmed its fear. A huge, dripping with putrid liquid demon claw pierced through the top of the hall and grabbed directly at the Ho-Tu city lord who was slumped on the ground. "No! Immortal Emperor, save me. Save me." The Ho-Tu city lord let out the most shrill cry of his life, desperately reaching out his hands to me. I was expressionless, just watching quietly. The demon claw closed, easily grasping the Ho-Tu city lord. The crisp sound of bones breaking and the sizzling sound of flesh being corroded was bone-chilling. He didn't even manage to leave a complete last word before turning into a pool of bloody filth in the demon claw, along with his primordial spirit, and being completely absorbed by the corpse demon lord. The Ho-Tu city lord, his body and soul destroyed. The heavenly demon roared in satisfaction, glanced at me with some trepidation, and seeing that I had no reaction, roared and continued to pounce on other survivors in the city. I stood among the ruins and slaughter, surrounded by a hellish scene, but remained spotless. After taking one last look at this land, completely swallowed by demonic flames, my figure slowly faded, eventually disappearing completely. The era of the human race, with the death of the last city lord, was officially declared over. I also withdrew from this planet. I wasn't even from this world. I just felt sorry for them when I passed by and wanted to help them. Since they didn't need it, I left. Rumble. The earth began to tremble violently, more fiercely than ever before. Demonic energy gushed out from all directions like boiling water, blotting out the sky and sun. Countless scarlet, bloodthirsty, and brutal eyes lit up in the dense demonic fog, densely packed, stretching as far as the eye could see. Low roars, sharp shrieks, the cracking of bones rubbing together. Countless horrifying demonic sounds converged into a torrent of destruction. Immortal venerables decree. The feast begins. The voice of the corpse-wrought demon venerable was like a thunderclap, exploding in the consciousness of all the demons. Kill, tear them apart, devour everything. For the demon lord, for blood food. Hundreds of years of accumulated hunger, repression, and brutality erupted completely at this moment. The demonic tide, the real, boundless demonic tide moved, like a black tsunami of death, with the corpse-wrought demon venerable at the vanguard, carrying countless demon soldiers and generals, and even deeper within, several terrifying demon venerable auras, no weaker than the corpse-wrought demon venerable, also erupted with a bang, joining the fray, surging towards the breached domain Great Wall, towards the human territory that had lost its only guardian and was still immersed in a greedy dream. Domain Great Wall at the gate. The remaining cultivators and the team that had just returned from beyond the domain laden with spoils and were preparing to enter the city were still immersed in the joy of their harvest and admiration for immortal Emperor Lurian. What was that loud noise and vibration just now? There seemed to be a strong energy fluctuation deep beyond the domain. Maybe immortal Emperor Ruyan is using her great divine powers again to obtain treasures, right? Definitely. With the immortal Emperor here, what could possibly happen? Our harvest this time. Before the words were finished, everyone's smiles froze on their faces. In their pupils, they reflected the endless darkness that devoured light, sweeping in from the distant horizon. The speed of that darkness was beyond imagination. In almost the blink of an eye, it transformed into a sky-covering, earth-shattering, hideous demonic shadow. Terrifying, evil, cold, bloodthirsty, demonic energy, like a tangible shockwave, crashed violently against the ancient walls of the Great Wall ahead of time. Buzz! The defense formations inscribed within the Great Wall itself activated automatically, emitting a distressed wail as if it could not bear the weight, the light shining violently, instantly filled with cracks. Enemy attack. A shrill alarm, distorted to the point of changing its tone, finally shattered the tranquility. But it was too late. The black demonic tide crashed like a tsunami against the Great Wall's light screen. It only lasted for less than 3 breaths. Crack, rumble. The domain Great Wall, renowned as a barrier that had protected the human race for hundreds of years, the largest gate section, along with the surrounding walls, under the crazed impact of countless demons and the joint attack of several great demon venerables, shattered like paper paste, turning into countless broken stones and dust. The defending cultivators and the returning team bore the brunt. Before they could even mount an effective resistance, they were swallowed by the black torrent. Instantly, flesh and blood flew everywhere. Souls were torn apart and absorbed. Even the screams were drowned out by the demons' roars. The demonic tide surged into human territory without hindrance. Human hinterland, major main cities. People were still immersed in the feverish atmosphere of Lin Dong defeated. Immortal Emperor Rian leading the rise of the human race, and treasures beyond the domain, free for the taking. The streets were bustling with discussions of who had obtained what rare treasures from beyond the domain, greatly increasing their cultivation. Suddenly, the sky dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye, stained with bizarre dark green and crimson. An icy, bone-chilling demonic wind, carrying a strong smell of blood, howled through the city. What's going on? Why is it getting dark? It's so cold. This wind makes me feel so uncomfortable. Look at the sky. What is that? People looked up in horror, only to see that in the distant sky, black clouds were surging like a boiling tide. Beneath the demonic clouds were the hideous figures of countless flying demons. Demons. The demons are invading. The Great Wall. The domain Great Wall has been breached. Run! Panic spread like a plague in an instant. The bustling streets were plunged into chaos, with cries, screams, and trampling sounds echoing everywhere. The city lords' mansions and sects in various places urgently raised defense formations, and alarm bells rang loudly. Cultivators flew into the sky in panic, trying to organize resistance. But when they saw the boundless demonic tide and felt the terrifying demon venerable auras within, far exceeding that of immortal emperors, all courage was crushed to dust in an instant. How was it possible? So many, so strong. Immortal Emperor, where is Immortal Emperor Rian? Quickly call for reinforcements. Call for reinforcements from the central thick Earth City. Call for reinforcements from Immortal Emperor Rian. Central Thick Earth City, Alliance Headquarters. The 5 city lords and leaders of the major sects were gathered together, discussing how to further develop the resources beyond the domain and how to distribute the benefits. The Thick Earth City Lord still had a complacent smile on his face. Everyone, now that the obstacles have been removed, the future belongs to us. As long as... Boom! A huge explosion came from outside the city, shaking the entire hall violently. Report. A general, covered in blood, armor shattered, scrambled into the hall, his face full of extreme fear, his voice hoarse and broken. The demons are invading. The domain Great Wall has been breached. They've broken in. We can't stop them. We can't stop them at all. What? The hall fell silent instantly. The smiles on the faces of all the big shots froze, turning into unbelievable paleness. Nonsense. Immortal Emperor Rian just led people deep beyond the domain. How could there be demons? The Thick Earth City Lord forced himself to remain calm and rebuked. Before the words were finished, another panicked figure rushed in. City Lord, it's bad. Urgent messages from the northern mysterious Ice City and the western Sharp Metal City. They've encountered the main force of the demons. The city defenses were broken in an instant. The two city lords have already fallen. The southern leaving Fire City is also surrounded by the demonic tide. It's in imminent danger. The Eastern Azurewood City has lost contact. One piece of bad news after another was like a heavy hammer, hitting everyone's heart hard. The Thick Earth City Lord staggered back, fell in his chair, his face bloodless, his lips trembling. How could this be? Where is Immortal Emperor Rian? Quick, contact her. We can't contact her. Immortal Emperor Rian and all the quasi-emperors under her command. Their soul lamps. All extinguished. The elder responsible for guarding the soul hall ran over, his voice desperate. All extinguished? Mid-stage, Immortal Emperor, a dozen peak quasi-emperors, all extinguished. The hall was deathly silent. Only the roars and explosions of the demons, getting closer and closer outside the city, could be heard. Despair instantly overwhelmed everyone. While the demons were wantonly slaughtering in the human territory, I stood in the air above them. All the demons flying in the air circled around me. So I was quickly discovered. Look, in the sky. It's immortal Emperor Lin Dong, a blood-soaked cultivator with a severed arm pointed at the sky, screaming with a mixture of extreme joy and disbelief. This cry, like grasping the last piece of driftwood at the edge of drowning, instantly ignited the hope of countless desperate people. It's really immortal Emperor Lin Dong. The immortal Emperor isn't dead. The immortal Emperor is back. Immortal Emperor, save us. Save us. Please, immortal Emperor, kill the demons. Immortal Emperor, the human race cannot perish. Cries and pleas surged like a tide from the ruined city. Countless gazes filled with longing and supplication focused on me. I indifferently looked down at them, watching the demons tear their bodies, devour their souls, watching the familiar city burn and collapse in the demonic flames, unmoved. No action, not even a trace of emotional fluctuation. My silence and indifference, like a basin of ice water, gradually extinguished the initial ecstasy of the crowd. Hope began to turn into confusion, then unease, and finally, into anger. They couldn't understand why the immortal emperor, who had once protected everything in their hearts, was now just watching coldly. Finally, someone couldn't hold back and issued a sharp accusation. It was a sect elder who, while desperately resisting the attack of a demon general, roared at me, his voice distorted by fear and anger. Lin Dong, why don't you act? Are you watching the human race being slaughtered? You are unworthy of being the immortal emperor of a human race. Then more survivors joined the ranks of the accusers, as if only by pouring all their fear of failure and death onto me could they feel better. That's right, Lin Dong, you have received so many years of offerings and love from the human race. Receive the reverence of billions of people. Now that the human race is in such great trouble, you actually stand by and watch. Where is your conscience? Wasn't it just a misunderstanding? It was wrong of us to judge you, but who knew that the extraterritorial was so dangerous? Since you have such strength, why didn't you just explain it clearly? That's right. You could have explained it clearly, but you chose to leave. You deliberately wanted to see us die. Why is your heart so narrow? A small misunderstanding, a trivial grievance, and you want to take the survival of the entire human race as revenge. Are you even human? As a strong person, it is your duty to protect the weak. You are strong, so you should endure these misunderstandings and grievances. Now you are being vindictive and refusing to help. You are even more hateful than the demons. Curses, accusations, cries of moral blackmail, mixed with the roars of demons and the explosions of the city, sounded particularly harsh and ridiculous. They seemed to have completely forgotten who had driven away the demons for hundreds of years, who had been jointly tried and denounced as a sinner, and who had personally pushed away the only guardian and happily jumped into the trap. At this moment, they only remembered that I had not saved them, and attributed all the blame to my vengefulness and indifference. Listening to the ridiculous remarks from below, I finally spoke slowly. My voice was not loud, but it clearly suppressed all the noise, coldly entering the ears of every survivor like ancient ice. Love? Offerings? Those hundreds of years of guardianship were rewarded with your joint accusations in the trial hall. Explanation? What I need to explain to you? Your reverence, to me, is worthless. Your survival, what does it have to do with me? The path was chosen by yourselves. The price, naturally, must be paid by yourselves. My words, without the slightest emotion, were more despairing than any roar. Those who were accusing me were instantly speechless, their faces as pale as paper. Yes, why did they have to accuse? What qualifications did they have to demand? But still, some people shamelessly accused me. Even so, setting aside the facts, are you not wrong too? You're so powerful. Why didn't you force us not to go out? Hearing these shameless words, a casual glance, and a woman on the ground was instantly struck by lightning. her soul completely destroyed. I looked down, feeling bored. I continued to walk towards Thick Earth City, the center of the domain. Thick Earth City, as the last stronghold of the human race, was indeed struggling to support itself with its solid array foundation reinforced over generations and its foundation of gathering spiritual veins from all directions. The huge, earthy yellow light curtain vibrated violently under the impact of the endless demonic tide, flickering uncertainly, each flicker seeming like it would completely collapse the next moment. Inside the city, the remaining cultivators and people huddled together, their faces filled with despair, pinning their last hope on the crumbling protection. Inside the city lord's mansion, the Thick Earth City Lord no longer had the majesty of a city lord. His gorgeous clothes were torn, his hair was disheveled, and his face was mixed with blood, sweat, and undisguisable fear. He paced back and forth in the command hall like a trapped beast, urging the formation masters to infuse spiritual power in a hoarse voice. But his eyes kept drifting to the devastating demonic tide outside the city, and each time the terrifying aura of a demon lord level exploded, he would tremble all over. Just as he was about to be swallowed by despair, the corner of his eye suddenly caught a glimpse. Right in the center of the hall, only a few feet away from him, a figure in green robes had quietly appeared at some point, standing with his hands behind his back, indifferently observing the chaotic scene in the hall. It was me who had returned. Lin, Immortal Emperor Lin Dong. The Thick Earth City Lord was stunned for a moment, then burst into incredible joy, his eyes like a dying person seeing the only savior. He almost crawled over, not caring about the surprised gazes of his subordinates around him, and knelt down in front of me with a thud, tears streaming down his face, kowtowing repeatedly. Immortal Emperor, you're back. You're finally back. I knew you wouldn't abandon the human race. You wouldn't abandon us. He cried, his voice extremely miserable, tried to reach out and grab the corner of my clothes, but was blocked by an invisible force. Immortal Emperor, we were wrong. We all know we were wrong. It's all that bitch Lu Ruyen. It was she who bewitched us. He suddenly raised his head, his face filled with urgency, his voice shrill. It was her. It was her who came back from the extraterritorial, swearing that you had deceived everyone. It was she who took out the so-called evidence. We were all blinded by her. Immortal Emperor, please be aware. We were all deceived by her. That's why we did such stupid things. We are also victims. As he spoke, he kowtowed vigorously, his forehead instantly bruised. Immortal Emperor, please, for the sake of the hundreds of millions of lives of the human race, for the sake of our past efforts, even if we have no merits, please take action to repel the demons. As long as you are willing to take action, from now on, you will be the only supreme being of the human race. We are willing to serve you as our master for eternity. All the resources, all the power are yours. Please, save us. His words were fast and urgent, full of flattery, begging, and a frantic shifting of blame onto Lu Ruyen, as if pushing all the guilt onto a dead person could wash away his own greed and betrayal. I watched his performance indifferently, watching him sell everything without a bottom line in order to survive, even including Immortal Emperor Ruyen, who had once been revered by him as a god. Until he was hoarse, I slowly opened my mouth, my voice calm without a trace of emotion, but like a cold knife, piercing all his illusions. Deceived, Lu Ruyen said that there were treasures in the extraterritorial, and you believed it without a doubt, because it matched your greed. She accused me, and you jointly tried me, because it could satisfy your ambition to overthrow the old authority. Now that you have tasted the bitter fruit, you push everything to a dead person. My gaze swept across his pale face, across the surrounding cultivators with complex expressions, also filled with fear. Thick Earth, when you presided over the trial, you didn't say it like this. The path was chosen by yourselves. The price, naturally, must be paid in full. My words completely crushed his last hope. The Thick Earth City Lord's face instantly lost all color, and he collapsed to the ground, his eyes hollow, muttering, "No, it can't be like this. You can't stand by and watch." Just then, boom, an unprecedentedly terrifying, loud noise came. The entire hall shook violently, and the dome began to collapse. Outside the city, the huge, rotting figure of the corpse demon lord appeared, and it let out a hideous laugh, its huge, festering claws tearing at the last protective light curtain of thick Earth City from the outside. Crack! Bang! The defense known as the most solid of the human race, under the full blow of the demon lord, finally completely shattered, turning into a sky full of light points and dissipating. It's over. It's all over. The thick Earth City lord stared blankly at the sky covering demonic shadow outside the broken dome, completely despairing. Endless demons surged into the city from all directions like a flood that had broken through the dam, and the screams instantly reached their peak. The heavenly demon's gaze pierced through the ruins and instantly locked onto the thick Earth City lord in the hall, and me beside him. A trace of instinctive awe for me flashed in its huge pupils, but seeing my still indifferent stance, its greed immediately overwhelmed its fear. A huge, festering claw pierced through the top of the hall and grabbed directly at the thick Earth City lord who was collapsed on the ground. "No, Immortal Emperor, save me, save me." The thick Earth City lord let out the last, most desperate wail of his life, desperately reaching out to me with both hands. I was expressionless, just watching quietly. The demonic claws closed, easily seizing the lord of thick Earth City. Ugh! The crisp sound of bones shattering and the sizzling sound of flesh being corroded was teeth-grinding. He didn't even manage to leave a complete last word before being reduced to a pool of filthy blood in the demonic claws, along with his primordial spirit, completely absorbed by the corpse demon lord. The lord of thick Earth City was thus extinguished, body and soul. The heavenly demon let out a satisfied roar, glancing at me with apprehension. Seeing that I had no reaction, it roared and continued to pounce on the other survivors in the city. I stood amidst the ruins and slaughter, surrounded by a hellish scene, yet I remained spotless. Taking one last look at this land completely consumed by demonic flames, my figure slowly faded, eventually disappearing completely. The era of the human race officially came to an end with the death of the last city lord. I also withdrew from this planet. I was never a person of this world. I just happened to pass by and wanted to help them because I felt sorry for them. Since they don't need it, I left.